Furniture, and I am so excited. This is a gorgeous 5-piece hutch that I have for my next project, and it is the single largest piece that I've worked on. In addition, I have a huge surprise. I have a guest star who's going to be helping me from start to finish with the entire thing. Drum roll, please. My husband! Yeah! A little bit of a background. He has experience in...
I do carpentry, cabinets, fabrication, vinyl installation, you name it.
Yeah, so he's very knowledgeable. I'm so excited. This is going to be the first of hopefully many Howard projects, so I cannot wait. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's get started. Yay!
That was a good one.
Okay, so my husband had to run in to help the baby. So I'm going to briefly explain what we're planning to do with this piece. So this is a commissioned piece. This is from one of our friends, and he found this on Facebook Marketplace for like $120, which is a great deal. The brand is called American of Martinsville, and this hutch is made with so much precision and detail. I'm really excited. So what they're wanting is they're obviously wanting the old stain removed, completely back down to bare wood. They are gonna go for a dark walnut stain instead. The shelves in here are originally glass, and they're wanting us to make wooden shelves so that they can kind of tie it all together, and they just prefer wooden over glass. The back, we're going to be replacing that old wallpaper and adding a new one to fit my client's style. We're also going to be looking into new hardware on these. And then they're also wanting the tops nice and modern. So these detailed pieces on the tops are going to be cut off and removed. In addition, the insides of the cabinets are going to stay the same. However, they do need a refresh with wax, as well as all of the drawers, the interior, and all of the sides, as well as drawer slides, so that they all slide and move properly. I absolutely cannot wait to show you guys how I'm going to turn this beat up, worn down hutch into this gorgeous, dark and moody hutch for my clients. I hope you're ready, because let's get started.
After getting it disassembled, we worked on both drawer sections first at the same time to remove all of the hardware and get all of the drawers out so that we could clean the entire piece down.
Dude, this is crazy.
All the tools on my workpiece.
No, all the different brands.
Oh yeah, huh?
Yeah.
Literally Husky, Hart, DeWalt, Milwaukee. Yep. You name it, we got it.
We have all of the drawers out. All of the hardware is removed. All of the drawers are labeled on the bottoms, and then on the insides of the drawers, they're also labeled. We're gonna start cleaning and then getting our glue ups done.
I guarantee you prep work is never going to be a waste of time. We're gonna go more into why we clean beforehand.
Look at her legs.
What?
What is wrong about this scene? Not that she's bare legs, she's stepping over a piece to work on another piece when there's all this space. Move your leg. 30 seconds, not even 10 seconds, and you got all that. Now you can move freely. I could do a back bend now.
Nate is genetically
clean
nagging.
this. Couldn't do that before.
This is one of those things that I wildly underestimated in time. I thought it'd be like a 10-minute thing to tape these off. It took me over an hour and a half.
I love recording because I love doing it. But I can't imagine how much faster a project would go if I didn't have to record as many steps as possible. Also, I worry about how unproductive I will be with joking around with Nate.
No, you don't. Lies.
And then I'm just going to do a trash pile.
I brought your trash can out.
Oh. Wow, maybe Nate will help me with productivity. It's always fun seeing how grimy these are. Like, they don't look grimy. Then you clean 2 drawers.
I'll be honest, this is a step I don't understand. It's cleaning.
Ooh, good question,
There
Nate.
you go.
Let me explain why you clean before you sand. You clean before you sand because if I had dirt on it and then I sand it down, I'm sanding that dirt into the wood.
Who says?
Logic, science, the internet, YouTube. Mariah from Mariah Flips Furniture. But yeah, if you sand before you clean, you're going to sand the gunk and grime into your finish, and it's going to give you...
Or you're just going to sand it right out.
Huh?
Or you're just going to sand it right out.
No, you're going to sand it into the actual veneer and finish. Like, you never use a dirty sandpaper to get a smooth finish. This is about getting the smoothest finish. This is not about getting the quickest finish. Smoothest, guys. We're going for quality over quantity. Nate's going to learn what that means.
And some quantity.
So this is the part that Nate's going to be fixing. There are obvious splits right here in the veneer. So he's going to be cramming some glue in there. And then he's going to be using a piece of wood to clamp it all flat so that it stays as flat as possible. There's also a couple of other areas over here that are very similar. We actually have a flow in mind. So we just finished cleaning. He's going to be doing the glue up repairs over here. And then when those are drying, he's going to start scraping. And once I finish taping up the glass on the hutch, then I'll come join scrape and sand. So, yay!
I learned so many great tips from Nate. So here he's putting glue into the veneer like I normally do, but I normally try and clamp at as many points as possible. However, what he does is he'll then get a flat piece of wood and clamp that together. That way it's evenly distributed and it's all clamped. I love it. I want these videos to be as helpful and useful as possible, so I'm going to go over a couple of tips that I've learned over the last year and a half for removing old finish. The first tip is that there are so many different processes that you could go through: scraping, stripping, sanding, hand sanding. Scraping is genuinely the most cost efficient. It is very affordable. It is a $20 scraper. You can use this scraper to save you a bunch of time sanding, which also saves you money and resources on sandpaper, your battery charges, everything like that, and dust volume. The two biggest downsides is you never really know if a piece is going to scrape easily with the old finish, and it's a lot of elbow grease. So I recommend getting a scraper and using it when you can, because again, you won't know until you try it. So I recommend trying it on every piece to see if you can save time sanding by doing this trick.
One of the things that I have noticed with the scraper that helps a lot is if I'm going just down in the direction of the actual blade, it's a lot harder for me to catch a grip on it. So instead, I like to go up and then come back down, and it grabs it a lot better, I've noticed. And it also helps me get in a better groove where I'm just moving the blade across the surface like this and it's catching. So I'm just going to do that for a little bit more and kind of show you guys how that's helped me.
And golly gravy, one of the other cons that I forgot to mention is the high-pitched volume that this thing scrapes at. So if you have sound sensitivity, be cautious when you use a scraper. The next technique that I have come to love for removing old finish is actually chemical stripper. First off, PPE is so important for chemical stripping, but also I have found that one of the biggest tips I can give you is do not be afraid to use a large amount. Get it on in gulps and globs and volumes, you guys.
Sucks so bad. Huh?
So I don't know how we get it yet.
It is now day 2. So yesterday was a really great start to this massive hutch. We were able to get a really good idea of our whole flow, like what he'll be working on while I'm working on a separate part. So yesterday we were able to get the whole bases sanded for 2 of them, and we got them down to bare wood, and the wood grain looks beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, we also got the glass on the hutches all taped off, protected when we do our stain and our poly.
That took way longer than we thought it would. And then I also was able to strip and sand 3 drawers down. I'm just finishing up a little bit of parts of them, but those look really great too. So that's 3 out of 6 drawers. So we're going to have a lot today. We've got to strip the other drawers as well as the cabinet doors and the whole base. And then we're also going to be hand sanding the glass hutch. So it's going to be pretty big. So
Let's get it.
Yeah, let's get going.
A couple of more tips while using chemical stripper. I use premium stripper by Clean Strip, and I found that when I use a very large amount and let it sit for longer, it is significantly easier to rub off all of the old finish. After I let the stripper sit for about 30 to 45 minutes, I use warm water and Dawn dish soap and a scrub brush to clean off as much gunk as possible.
So this is one side that's completely stripped down, and here's what it looked like before. So this has the stripper sitting on it, but there's an obvious huge difference between the two. So really excited with how this is turning out.
I always start out with a really simple, cheap scrub brush, one that you would use for tires or even dishes. I scrub off as much as I can with the warm water and soap, being very, very generous with how much I'm using. And then if I still have remaining gunk on it, I can always do a second coat of stripper, or I go in with steel wool, or for really detailed areas, I use my very handy wire brushes, and those are phenomenal at getting any extra gunk off. I highly recommend when you're trying to start out, definitely try different techniques. We did 3 of the drawer faces with chemical stripper, and the other 3 were just hand sanding. And the 3 with chemical stripper were significantly more efficient and faster, and they removed the old finish off and nice and even and a lot more consistent. We now are at about 30 hours of sanding, and we are still detail sanding any pieces that we missed, like the grooves, and then I finally was able to get to the cabinet fronts. So these cabinet fronts are very similar to the rest of it. I put on large globs and large amount of stripper, and then I used my scrub brush and I came in with some warm water and Dawn dish soap. I tried to get out as much of it as I could with just the scrub brush before going on with the steel wool and the wire brush, and this saves me a significant amount of time. And not only that, but I wasn't at all worried about accidentally sanding down any of the beautiful detail or any of the stunning depth. Here's a blaring don't do what I did moment. I hosed down the rest of the pieces, the drawer fronts and the base, and nothing was wrong. However, these cabinet doors, they're inlaid, so there's a piece inside of a piece, and I hosed it down, which created water to back up inside of it, which ended up with the wood warping.
For full transparency, we found an issue, and I think it has to do with stripping these cabinet doors and getting water in there. So if you look right here, this is how the door pattern is, and this is obviously placed inside and glued down, this piece of wood. And right here is where water got in and now warped, and it has bended this wood. So it's like so tough too. I have never had this issue, and I don't know how to fix this issue. So Nate's thinking we possibly use a steamer, put some glue behind it, use a steamer to warp it back, and then clamp it down hard so that hopefully it'll stiffen back up where it's supposed to be.
Nate 100% gets a productivity point for this because this worked phenomenally well. We were both very skeptical, but check this out.
Oh, babe, but that's moving so well.
Yeah, it was moving a lot better than it was. We'll probably need to put a bigger piece along this whole edge.
Yeah.
I hope you never accidentally warp wood, but if you do, save this technique. So what we did was we crammed some glue into the piece that needed to be pressed back down. We did everything we could to fit it in as much as possible. Then we steamed it for a good 3 to 5 minutes before we used the same technique he did for the veneer damage, which was where we used a flat piece of wood to clamp it all down so that it evenly distributed the pressure. We were very skeptical that it wouldn't work, but the wood actually bent so well.
Went down. That's the important thing.
We repeated the process, and I have definitely learned to be careful what I hose down. We clamped it and then left it overnight just to be extra careful. And I used to always ask a question of the day, and I haven't done that in so long. So, what's the silliest mistake that you've made that made a project so much longer than it should have been? Because I think this goes at the top of my list.
It's day 3. It is so cold. It's like 55 degrees in California, and that's freezing over here. But we're sanding the hutches today. We just fixed some warped wood on the cabinet fronts. We left it on overnight, so it's been over 24 hours, and it looks awesome.
That's good wood.
Oh yeah. Add steaming to your resume. And literally, I just finished stripping the rest of the base. So once we finish the hutches, we're done sanding and we can get to staining. I'm hopeful.
This is the point in the process where you feel like you're losing your mind because you thought you did so much work and you should be done by now. We sanded all of these pieces down for over a good 25 hours, and now we still had the 2 hutches left. We did the hand sanding as little as possible, so I went in with my Surf Prep sander because it gets in the nice smaller areas, and then we hand sanded whatever the Surf Prep couldn't reach. I highly recommend this yellow kit that my husband's using. It gets into every single groove you can imagine. Here's using the straight one. I also use the bent one and the flat one as well because I hate holding sandpaper by itself. It always bends and it's so much more difficult to manage. I then sanded down all of the flat areas of the base that I wasn't using stripper on because it is significantly easier to just sand those down for me, and it does save some product on stripping, which I do prefer doing whenever possible. I of course am going to be linking all of the products that I use in the caption, so if you have any questions, definitely check that out.
Oh, my arm hurts so bad. How do I help my arm not hurt so bad while sanding? Can you show me?
Sure. 3, 2, 1.
I'm going to show you a hack. I need to keep Nate around because he shows me some really cool hacks. So, I was trying to open this up with a screwdriver, and I'm used to like shoving it in there and pushing, and I accidentally slipped and I got a boo-boo. Oh yeah. But he was showing me another trick that you can do is you stick your screwdriver down, no pressure, and you just twist, and it'll pull it up. I'm always so used to like grunt force and forcing it open, but this is so easy. What the heck? Grunt, grunt, work, grunt, blunt force, brute force. So we're gonna do the underneath part of a drawer. We applied pre-stain. So now what we're gonna do is we are gonna grab a couple of different stain colors and test it out. Visual, dark walnut, espresso.
Yeah. Definitely.
So here it is. After 35 hours worth of sanding between my husband and I, this is the massive hutch completely sanded down to bare wood. The next part I'm the most worried about. There are so many different variables that affect how stain absorb into wood. And so I'm really nervous about how it'll absorb into this piece. But I sent my client 4 different stain samples. She picked the one that she absolutely loves. She actually picked number 1, but with a little more black to it. So it comes out as more of a grayish brown. I'm super curious which one you guys would choose for this exact piece. If you would go with more of a chocolate brown look, if you would go with more of a lighter look like it originally had, or if you love the one that she chose. And I think after it's totally applied, we'll all love what she chose. I'm so excited to show you guys how we apply the stain and how it absorbs into the wood.
I mean it when I say that this is the most nerve-wracking part for me. After all of that work sanding, I don't want to apply the stain incorrectly and have to redo any of the sanding. So I get a wet, lint-free rag and I wipe it all down to remove any of the dust. Before this, we made sure to sand it down with 120 grit, then 150, and then we went in with 220 grit across the entire piece so that the stain would apply evenly. I applied the stain color that she picked out, and as I got farther and farther in, I was going crazy because even though it looked incredibly dark on the sample, it looked incredibly dark in the bowl that I had it all mixed in. It was applying identical to the original stain. So this is where I kind of went in panic mode of I just sanded this whole piece down for 35 hours just to have the stain look the exact same as before. So I was contacting my clients like none other. Don't get me wrong, the stain was applying really evenly and really smoothly, and I loved the look, but it wasn't as dark as they were wanting, so that's what the panic was for, because this was not turning out how we were planning.
So I've applied the whole stain and it all went on really well. However, For some reason, even though I mixed dark walnut and classic black together, it should have given me a dark color. It looks the exact same as the before stain. I'm not even kidding you. It is identical to how I got this hutch. And so I have been talking to the clients because I cannot figure it out. But so the clients, they came over this morning, they looked at it because in pictures they're like, it looks great, we're super happy with it. And I was eventually just like, hey, can you guys just come over and look at this? Because when I look at it in person, it is identical to the beginning. And you guys always talked about how you wanted it darker, so could you come take a look at it? They took a look at it and they were like, so weird. It is the exact same. We have now come to a solution where I'm gonna now put a classic black stain over the already stained pieces, and it's gonna come out this really cool, like darkish, really cool contrast. So I'll show you with the stain on, and I'll show you without the classic black. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a round of that, and then once that all dries, top coat the first one. So this is the difference. This is without, and this is with. So we're gonna go ahead and go with this, and not that. I need to start treating social media and YouTube videos as a marriage and vows where it's in sickness and in health, because it's so easy to not want to show you guys the hard parts of this and like just seem like I'm always succeeding, I'm always winning. But these parts suck. They suck so bad. So we wanted to do classic black stain over it because when I did the sample on the front of the drawer, it looked phenomenal. And then I did the drawers and it looked like this. It looks so black. We were just wanting darker, a little bit darker, slightly gray. The sample was way different. It looks so black. Yikes. So I ended up doing a gel stain. It's Kona Gel Stain by Varathane. And it is so much better. It's darker. It's more of a brownish tone. But it looks nothing like the original. And it's way more even. This one went on so uneven too. So these are the two differences. So now what am I doing? I am sanding the 3 drawers that I did with the classic black and the 2 cabinet doors. So it stinks. Look at the sandpaper too when I sand these. I applied this stain 24 hours ago. It should not gunk like this. So these are the moments that make me feel like I shouldn't be doing this and I should just go and work at a convenience store. So, in sickness and in health, guys.
Even though I feel like I'm losing my mind, even though I feel like I'm in one of the deeper valleys of this whole project, it is seriously so worth it to look back on these mistakes that I made and learn from them, because I know for sure I'm going to stop at 1 drawer, really evaluate it before I go ahead and do 3 total drawers and 2 cabinet doors. As for applying the stain, I wanted to do the exact same routine that I did for the other pieces. So I went in with the mixture that I did with the dark walnut and classic black, and then I stopped there and added the gel stain over it. The gel stain goes on like a dream. It is seriously so much easier to work with. It's way easier to get off, but I do highly recommend you watch it very closely so that you can remove it before it dries completely. If you wait until it dries completely, it goes on way blotchier. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna rub it on in circles or against the grain first, and then you're gonna go with the grain to fill in all of the pores for the gel stain. Then you are going to, again, wipe it off with paper towels, a rag, whatever you can use. Wipe it down before it dries. I have found that gel stain is so much easier to work with than oil stain, and it just goes on and it sits above the grain, but it still really showcases the gorgeous wood patterns. So I personally am a gel stain girl, and this was a bigger confirmation for why I love it so much. One of the big differences for gel stain is with oil stain, you're going to go with the grain and only with the grain. With gel stains, it does recommend going in a crazy circle pattern or against the grain at first. Again, it's to fill in the pores, and then go with the grain and wipe off with the grain. Whereas with oil stain, you're pretty much just gonna wipe on with the grain and wipe off with the grain, and you're gonna have a longer dry time to make sure that it absorbs completely.
My area is a mess right now. But my clients, I've been joking around with them that like this piece, if I ever love the wood, I'll probably forget how much trouble it gave me this whole time. And that's the point I'm at. I love this wood. This is the base. Look at how freaking, oh my goodness. It looks so good. So yeah, I have forgotten all of the trauma that this piece has put me through. I haven't been able to record a bunch of the staining process because I'm not even kidding you. I have been covered in stain. Like, let me show you how many gloves, paper towels, rags, old shirts. It's crazy how messy gel stain is. Crazy.
I feel like this project has helped me find a lot of different techniques that really worked for me. I found that just soaking a rag completely and using that to apply all of the stain and just dumping it back in the container while I'm moving from piece to piece was the most efficient for me. I then used paper towels to remove all of the stain because those were so much easier for me to access. So that was really helpful. If you have any questions about applying the stain or removing the gel stain, whether if it's oil or gel, let me know in the comments. I worked with it for hours on this project alone, so I'd love to help out if I can. Next is my favorite part of the whole process. It's applying the top coat. I use Behr's polyurethane. I always use Behr's polyurethane. It's water-based, it goes on really smoothly, it self-levels itself, and it's just an incredibly high quality product in my opinion. I first strained it when I put it into my sprayer, and then what I did was I applied 2 coats just straight on the piece using the same consistency as far apart from the piece the whole way through, and then I lightly sanded the entire set before going in with a 3rd coat. We are so close to the end of this piece. I am so excited. So then I applied the wallpaper. I found that taking the entire backing off and then sanding down all of that old wallpaper was way more efficient for getting the new wallpaper to stick and really show a higher quality product. My husband then, what he did is he put anchors on. That's where you tape about 6 inches down, you remove the backing on just that part, and then you roll it back just as he's doing and remove the rest of the backing as you smooth it along the way. He works at about 6 to 12 inches at a time, and then he goes in. I normally do the whole piece at once and I get so many bubbles. His way is way more efficient and he gets a productivity point. Now we're going to take a moment to admire this smooth cut. Next is adding new hardware. First, I added a blue piece of tape around where I'm going to be drilling because, quick note, if you do this, it's going to help the wood not tear underneath when drilling new holes. I then went in, measured out the holes that I needed, marked them, and went in with a really thin drill bit and then a larger drill bit to avoid more tear. I don't ever show my daughter's face on my social media for a good reason, but here she decided to be the cutest little helper.
Take it all the way out. Good job. Now blow. Good job. I've never sat inside of a client's piece, but I'm sitting inside of this hutch because it's the only way I can get these screwed in. So this is the last door that I have. So I'm super thrilled about that.
Have you ever been so proud of a piece that you just kind of like are in awe of just the beauty that it has? I was gonna leave this part with no voiceover because I was thinking about a comment that said I talk too much, and that's literally all they said, you talk too much. But I just had to let you guys know that I'm just in awe of this piece.
These last 72 hours have been an absolute nightmare. So of course Christmas was around, but then my husband gave my daughter a bath, and the next morning he noticed that the carpet in our closet was wet, and we thought it was kind of weird, so we kind of brushed it past. Then we just figured somebody spilled something or the dog, whatever. Went to church, and when we got back, anywhere you stepped your foot would be soaked and there'd be a footprint left. So we had a plumber come out and found out that it's actually a slab leak, which means that one of the pipes in the slab of concrete underneath that portion of the house has a leak. So we have been in a hotel for the last 3 nights, and we've had plumbers here, mitigation here. They're all trying to dry it out, get rid of any of the damage, any of the water, and now they're rerouting the leak right now. All that to say, I am working on finishing touches. I have this hutch completely done. Hardware's on, wallpaper's on. The shelves are just a little too snug, so we're actually going to be sanding the sides down so that we can get it to fit better. And then right now I'm just waxing the inside of the cabinets as well as waxing the rest of the drawers, and I think that should be it. I'm going to be using a furniture salve, wood wax. I'm using Wise Owls. It actually smells really good. I love ones with smells specifically, but obviously smells are not the most important thing. So what this is going to do is this is going to refresh the wood again, and it's also going to seal it to help protect it from just stain and dirt and grime. Wise Owl's brush is also the largest brush that I've seen, and it's the most comfortable to use. So I highly recommend at least getting the brush from them so that you can do it a lot quicker. So I just need to make sure that I'm doing all parts of these drawers, which is the insides, the outsides, and hitting the drawer slide on the actual drawer itself. One of my biggest mistakes as a new furniture flipper was definitely taking this part for granted. I did not apply wax onto many of the drawers that I refinished, and looking back on it, those pieces were not finished because I forgot this step. Definitely take this part seriously and apply wax. If you for any reason didn't think that the after was stunning, look at how it looks up against my client's accent wall, which is the exact same color as the wallpaper on the backings, and it is just gorgeous. I love where they have it in their house. We did it! After almost 60 hours, probably over 60 hours of working, we have finally finished the hutch, and it looks gorgeous.
I love it. I love all the different pieces that came together, the vinyl, the hardware, the color.
And I sent pictures and videos to my clients, and they love it so much already. And I think that this dark, moody look now compared to the original is so beautiful. I'm so glad that this one is done. I really appreciate you guys for sticking around for this super long YouTube tutorial. I hope that it was really helpful and beneficial to you guys. Don't forget to subscribe and let us know in the comments what you guys think. And let us know too if Nate should keep coming around in these videos. I cannot wait for the next episode, and I'll see you next time. Bye!